how the heck do I price my products or services? To be honest, pricing is probably one of the most challenging aspects of businesses, especially when you're a service-based business. If you're like, like Jules, part of your business is really product-based, where you've got a set percentage and it's very comparable to other people in the industry. And so it's quite easy to probably price certain parts of your business. But yeah, when it comes to actually offering your services, especially when it's often each one of our genius zones. So it's something that comes really naturally to us, and we forget that it doesn't come so naturally to everyone else. And that's why we do what we do, because a lot of, Michelle, for example, I'm not a very good cook and I don't love to cook. So getting guidance and support around learning how to cook really healthy, nutritious food for my family is something that really interests me, and something I would pay for, because I personally don't know how to do it. And I don't know why my mum didn't teach me growing up. I just don't think I asked enough questions, but that's, it's not my zone of genius and it's not my passion. So to get that guidance and support from someone who is, people will pay for that service. So, sometimes when it is your own personal services that you just kind of take for granted and feel is just a natural, everyone should know it or whatever, you've got to really kind of sometimes step back and go, okay, this isn't natural to, maybe 90% of the population. Maybe 10% of us absolutely love cooking or love consulting or are really good with numbers or really good at doing healings and body work sessions, but aren't so good at, something else. So yeah, you've got to really think about the fact that what you do is your genius zone and not everyone is good at it. And so it can be really challenging. It's probably one of the things that a lot of businesses do struggle with. So thank you everyone for coming tonight. It is 7:40 p.m. in Queensland. If you're coming from New South Wales or Victoria, it's probably 8:40 p.m. down there. So thank you for spending your Wednesday evening with me tonight. I really appreciate you being here online with me. And so who am I? So if you don't know me, I am a qualified accountant. I had my own public practice as in partnership with my father. So this is my dad. My mum and dad are still married today, but I just have a photo of my dad because we were in business together. And we were in business together for probably about 12 or so years. We had a small accounting practice. And I guess what led me to what I'm doing now, my absolute passion, is my dad and I actually, you think accountants should be really savvy business people, but unfortunately we made some poor business decisions by going into partnership with two men who we didn't really know that well. They were actually our coaches at the time, and they specifically coached accounting firms. And they came to my dad and I and said, we'd really like to buy a small boutique accounting firm, have you at our offices and kind of have you as a flagship firm. My dad was very old school, does business by a handshake, and I was a bit naive at the time. I didn't really ask enough questions. And we didn't get the legal advice or the guidance we probably did need at that time. So I've had a lot of experience in partnerships, what you definitely should not do when it comes to partnerships. But that has led me to my passion. So we literally went into $500,000 worth of debt overnight in that business when we joined in the partnership with those two men. Cash flow issues were real, stress and anxiety were high. I think I nearly burnt out many times through that business journey. We managed we had to buy our business back off the men, but I managed to find something within myself and led me down the path of personal development and growth, led me on the journey of business development and strategy and just learning everything I could about business. And I implemented all those strategies and I turned that business around, and we were able to kind of trade out of that situation and then sell it for a really good profit just a couple of years after that. So really tough at the time, but in hindsight, it's been my biggest gift because it's led me to doing what I'm doing today. And when I talk to people about business, I can really empathize. Like if you've got cash flow issues or you've made a business decision that maybe hasn't worked out the way you thought it was, I've been there. I know exactly what it feels like. So I can definitely empathize and I can definitely help businesses through that process. So that's my little bit of my journey. And then I like to say, this is my husband, Dan. He's my proud husband. And my little girl, Georgia, she's now 4, so a bit bigger than she was in that photo there. And then just, I guess, a little photo of myself so you can see who I am and what I love to do. So my business now really is focusing around helping businesses to create profitability, cash flow, all with confidence so that you can ace your business. And confidence was a really big piece for me. So, and I think it's a really big piece when it comes to business owners, because confidence has a lot to do with how you set your prices, being confident to ask for the money, to get the sale, to lead your team. So many things fell into that confident piece. And it's when I actually started doing a lot of the personal development and the personal growth that my confidence grew. And as my confidence grew, my business really grew in line with that. So anything you can do to help with confidence, I absolutely am a big believer in personal development and growth there. Okay, so let's jump into the presentation now. So pricing strategy. So really is important when you're starting to set your prices to understand the business costs. So there's fixed costs and variable costs. So fixed costs are basically to open the doors of your business, regardless of whether you make a sale or not, a fixed cost. So for example, if you have to rent an office space, or you have to rent a kitchen, or you rent a little healing studio within another business perhaps, or you've got your own, you rent a house and you've got your healing room there. So regardless of whether you have a customer coming through the door or not, you have to still pay the rent for that premises, regardless of the customer. So that's a fixed cost. So it remains in the business regardless of whether you make any sales or not. Variable costs are things that might go into actually making your selling your business. So you wouldn't incur those costs unless you actually make a sale. So for example, Michelle, your variable costs would be the food that you purchase, the raw materials you purchase to actually create the products that you're then selling to someone. So someone's using you for catering and you have to go out and buy some cheeses and crackers and all those types of things. They're all the variable costs that go into making that product or service that you're then selling. If you're a service-based business and you don't have any kind of products as part of the service, like me, for example, I don't really have that many variable costs because I am providing the service. Maybe if I am, as my business grows and I get, say, a coach on board, the coach, I might just hire them like on an hourly rate for specifically doing set coaching. So that might become a variable cost. But then if I have an administrative type employee I've got, working 20 hours a week, regardless of whether I make sales or not, that would be a fixed cost. So it's really important to understand your fixed costs and then also your variable costs. And it's really important to know what your profit goals. So once you understand your fixed costs and what they are every month, then you know how much kind of profit margin you need to make on all of your sales so that you can cover those fixed costs and also pay yourself what you'd like to be paid out of the business. Because at the end of the day, we're in business to make a profit and to actually pay ourselves what we'd like to earn. We're not here just to have a very expensive hobby. If you've got something that's a hobby that you love and you're not really that interested in making money of it, keep it as a hobby. Don't try and make money out of it because it just takes the fun out of it sometimes. But if you're really passionate about what you're doing and you want to share that gift with the world and you actually want to be paid well for it, then you really need to understand the costs of the business and also what your profit goals are. It's also important to do some market research. So just understanding who the other competitors are in your industry and what they charge. Although I do like to say that you should stay to your own lane. So don't get too distracted by what other people are doing in the industry because you really don't know what is within their business. So they might have a different business model for you, or they might have a different, they might want to be a luxury brand or a cost price brand, so there might be a different strategy that they're trying to actually take out to the marketplace. So yes, look at your competitors, but I always say try not to get sidetracked by that. Try and stick to your own lane and really focus on what you want to achieve and don't get distracted by what your competitors are doing. Really understanding your customers and the type of customers you'd like to attract. So if you're a new business and you're creating a new business, if you say, well, I want to be a really luxury brand, really understanding who those customers would be and what they would expect. Because sometimes if you come in at the lowest price point and you're trying to target a luxury brand, they actually might think you're too cheap and then not want to buy you, regardless of what your profit margin is on the product or service in the first place. So really understanding the type of business you want to have and the type of customers you want to attract, and then what their expectations would be is really important when it comes to your pricing. And then market influences. So sometimes, you see different types in the times in the market where, for example, the construction industry over the past couple of years, like it's been massive demand for construction, yet getting materials and resources into Australia due to exporting and everything that's happened has been really challenging. So materials are becoming really expensive. So understanding, so for a builder or someone in the trade industry, has really got to understand what's happening in the market to make sure they're not pricing themselves and then their actual cost of the materials that go into making it will actually make them in a loss position. So it's really important. The same with you, Michelle, for example, with your products. I'm sure food prices are going up at the moment. So a lot of your materials and and costs that you're using in your business to make the food are actually increasing. So really keeping an eye on that and making sure you're pricing effectively so that your profit margins aren't decreasing and then you're not actually making a profit because you can't cover your fixed costs, which is set in the business. So really understanding the numbers. And I love numbers. Numbers don't lie. And it's really important to understand your profit and loss and what it's telling you, so that you can really make some good informed decisions in your business. So being clear on your sales volume. So if you're wanting to have really high sales volume and you're wanting to kind of be much more efficient, so you want to make sure that you're constantly working on efficiency, like for example, a supermarket. Supermarket is all about high volume. So they've got very small margins on their products, but they're really high volume and they're constantly looking at ways of how they can reduce costs to keep able to offer those products at that margin, or, they're really analyzing the cost of their products at all the time. So if you're wanting to do more luxury and you said, well, I'm happy to do 3 sales a month because I'm making really good profit on those 3 sales, understanding that sales volume that you need in your business. And then positioning, we've kind of talked about that. So whether you're luxury, premium or low cost, and then understanding what the business strategy is behind each one of those. So as I mentioned, luxury, you need to price effectively. The product needs to look a certain way. Your website, all your branding and marketing, everything that you do has to really scream luxury out to the marketplace. So people are willing to pay those high prices like Gucci, Louis Vuitton, first class on Emirates, all those types of products are really luxury. So when you look at their branding, you look at the magazines they position themselves in, when you look at the models that they use, etc., it's all very high luxurious and their prices match that strategy. Premium might be something like, for example, if you've got a coaching business and you might say, well, I've got a premium service, a middle cost service and then a lower cost service. So the premium, your customers are going to expect a much higher service value for that premium price that they're going to pay. Really good example of that, I guess, would be fuel. So when you go to the petrol station, you've got your low cost E10, then you've got your unleaded petrol, and then you've got your premium unleaded. So looking at the different price points for each one of those. And then if you're, for example, got your Mercedes-Benz, then you'd expect that you get a good quality fuel at the premium one, where if you're driving more of a an older car that it's okay to take E10, then you might use the E10. So it's really where you position that. And then low cost, as we've talked about, something like a supermarket, high volume, low cost, constantly looking for efficiencies. But depending on the type of business you are, low cost can actually be a really fast way to go out of business. And as you're kind of growing your business, what happens is if you ever try to increase prices, often if you're a low cost and you're trying to then increase, customers might actually be not very loyal to you because they really just came to you in the first place because they want low cost. So as soon as you start increasing your prices, they're going to jump ship to the next lower cost option out there. So really for our businesses, I think going in at that low cost is not necessarily the best strategy because, as I mentioned, like the customers aren't going to be loyal. It's a lot harder for us to constantly working on efficiencies and efficiencies of scale. And there'll always be someone that will undercut you in the market, and you might not be able to win that pricing war with someone else. So you definitely want to focus on remaining competitive, and price elasticity is kind of when someone's willing to shop around and how elastic your prices can be. But if you've got kind of a bit of a monopoly on the market, then your prices probably aren't that elastic, and they're probably quite set, and you can probably ask what you want in the marketplace. So pricing is always a balancing act and always needs to be reviewed. I was just chatting to one of my clients the other day, and he said they've started to review their prices, and they realized if they just increase their prices by $10 on every single service, they could make $80,000 more in profit for the year. So $10. So people are often really scared to put their prices up. But sometimes what actually happens if you're getting really busy, and I'll touch on later when you should be looking at increasing prices. But if you're getting really busy and maybe you lost 1 or 2 clients, you actually can start buying yourself back some time, because even if 1 or 2 clients left, but the fact that you've put your prices up, you're actually probably still making as much profit, if not more profit, but you're actually probably working less because maybe 2 of your most painful clients have actually jumped ship, which might not be a bad thing, and you're still making as much profit without them anyway, and you've actually got a bit more time back to start focusing on adding new products or services or increasing the quality of the service offering that you have. Or just doing something you love, like going out with your family or going to the movies. Okay, so different types of pricing strategies that different businesses might implement. Markup pricing, so this would really be for retail. So for example, say you've got an online clothing store and you buy your stock from different suppliers. You might just do a markup on those products. You might just say 50% markup, 100% markup, 200% markup, whatever you work out. You might just mark up the product. Recommended retail pricing is when the supplier actually tells you how much you should sell that product for. So often you'll see, like if you go to the news agents and you'll buy a card, on the back it'll have a recommended retail price. So that's where the supplier is actually kind of recommended to the retailer how much they should actually sell it for. You've got the setting low prices, which I, to be honest, don't recommend, especially for all of us on the call tonight. Setting high prices, definitely look at setting high prices. Just making sure that the high prices match the service offering. You can do an hourly charge out rate or value pricing. For a service provider like myself, and probably yourself, Jules, what you mentioned earlier, value pricing is really important. Michelle, same as you with your business, value pricing, I think, would be a lot more important for you, and potentially Ruth as well, depending on your service offering. Value pricing might be a lot more beneficial for you. And a lot of coaches, consultants, someone like yourself, Michelle, doing online courses, that kind of thing, value pricing. So actually looking at what the transformation is for your client. And that's what the worksheet I've shared with you early in the chat will go through that. And that's really looking at value pricing for you and how you can kind of work through that to determine some really good value pricing for your business. So a service-based business. So just a show of hands, how many people have got service-based business on here? Jules, you would. Michelle, yours would be service-based business, and Ruth? Yep, service-based business.
Part of it.
Yeah. Part of it, and then some products as well. Yeah, perfect.
Gosh, yeah, 80% products, 20% services.
Okay, so 80% products, fantastic. All right, well, this is so I guess this is good for the service portion of your business. So the value proposition too. Okay, so I just talked about that. So I'm just going to actually open it myself. Click on the link.
I can't see the link actually.
Oh, can't you?
No.
I'll repost it. Give me 1 second. Can everyone else see the link in the chat?
Downloaded it.
I can now.
Yeah, can get it now. Perfect. Okay. So I'll just open it up. It's unfortunately the little boxes aren't editable, and this one's blue. So it's not, sorry, it's not. I should have got Jessie to edit it before we jumped on the call. I'm sorry about that. I just realized looking at that. But you can write it down in your notebook anyway. So I'll just walk you through it. So this is a really great tool to go through when you're looking at how to value price your services. So first of all, you ask, like, how many years experience do you have in your chosen field? And so this could include, you might have done, a few years study, and then you've worked for someone else in the field, and then you've gone out into your own business, and you've had your own business for a certain number of years. So how many years experience do you actually have in that field? And I really love, I don't know if anyone's heard the saying or heard the story before, but apparently Picasso was sitting at a coffee shop, and one day someone came up to him and said, oh, I'd love you to paint me a picture. And he did a little scribble on a serviette and said, oh, that's $20,000, please. And they're like, what, $20,000? It took you 2 seconds to do. And he's like, yes, but I've got 20 or 30 years of experience of going into my drawing. So of course it's not just going to be $5, like I've got so much experience and expertise that's gone into actually creating this masterpiece for you. So it's $20,000. I don't know the exact figures, but I just love that as a really great example of, experience and how important that is as well. And something you often don't think about. And then also just looking at your professional qualifications, education and training. So what are the different qualifications you might have? And not just professional qualifications, but, if you've done lots of different courses and you've done some extra training on top. So for myself, for examples, I've got I did my business degree, then I did my CPA qualifications, which took me 3 years. Then I did an extra year to get my CPA public practice license. Then I had a number of years of actually practicing. So then I was able to get my tax agent license. I got my tax agent license. But on top of that, I've spent lots of money on my personal development. So I've done lots of personal development, and it wasn't formal education, but it really has transformed me. I did many, many years of Toastmasters. So I learned how to become a competent public speaker. I learned really good leadership skills. I learned a lot about delegation and leading a team. So really thinking about all the different things that you've done. And it may not just be specific to, like, I guess what you're putting out there. So when I talk about, you know, I'm doing business coaching and consulting, especially around people's business numbers and profitability and cash flow, I don't share that I'm a distinguished Toastmaster, but that's something that really helps me when it comes to being an effective coach and really working with people and leading them and then running kind of group coaching sessions. I can and confidently run those sessions. So I would include that there because to me, that's been a really integral part in my growth. So listing out all of that and then kind of having a look about how much you've actually invested in that. So how much money and time have you invested in that formal education? Because that all adds up and that's all part of, you know, I kind of think of it, say, for example, you are a bricks and mortar business. So you've got a coffee shop. So that's kind of, you've invested in that business for, you know, you've bought tables and chairs, you've got the coffee machine, you've got all these assets that you invested in. And I think as a service provider, yes, you may not have a physical bricks and mortar shop like I don't. I work from home from my home office, but all of the money I've spent on myself that now enables me to provide a really high level service to my clients. I feel that you should actually really look at how much you've invested in yourself and quantify that. I mean, that just kind of gives you a bit of an idea of the value that you're offering the marketplace as well. Okay, then before we go down to the actual client experience, and at my networking event last month, I shared a story, or it was this month actually, it feels like last month, but I shared a story about your customer. So if you're looking at your customer, so Ruth, for example, someone comes to you and they're really highly stressed out, they're feeling really overwhelmed, they've got sore muscles, they're just not really coping very well, and they've come to you for a healing or a body work session to help them kind of relax and to relieve their anxiety. So at the moment they're on island B, so they're feeling stressed, they're not having a party, they're not relaxing on the beach, they're just potentially sitting in their room, feeling worried about everything that's happening. And then they come to you, they get on a little boat and they travel across, and you take this on a journey with your services that you're offering them from island B, which is miserable, stressed out, overwhelmed, anxious, and they get on this boat with you and they go on a journey and they come to island A, and island A is the party island, and they're sitting back with a cocktail and they're no longer feeling stressed and anxious, and they get to enjoy the beautiful island and relax. So thinking about your customer and the journey and the transformation they go on, this is kind of the client experience. And I like looking at that kind of island analogy and think people don't want to be on island B. The customers come to you because they don't want to be on island B. It's pretty shitty on island B. They really want to get to island A. And with your services and your product offering, you're going to take them on a journey to get them to island B. So thinking about that, you kind of look at, well, how do you help your client save time, save money, or make money? Or if, for example, it's not really around money that you're doing. So Michelle, yours, well, you could be potentially saving people time. So you're helping people to save time in the kitchen because they might not like to cook like me. I as soon as I can afford a chef, I'm going to be getting a chef because I don't want to cook my own food. So, you might be saving a busy, overworked, stressed mum that's, a professional that earns, a good income but doesn't want to do the cooking. You could be saving them a lot of time and a lot of stress. Ruth, you might be maybe not saving time, money, or helping them make money, but maybe you do. But it might be that you're helping to reduce their anxiety or their stress, or helping them have a better quality of life. So looking at what it is that your particular service offers to that person, and seeing if you can quantify it into a dollar amount. But if you can't, really thinking about like how you can word that in a way that shows that transformation, so people can really put a value on that for them. So, for me, a few weeks ago, for example, I was chatting to Michelle before we started the call. We're moving to Canada in January, and I was feeling very overwhelmed, very stressed about everything that was going on, the amount of stuff that my husband and I have to do to prepare to get ready to go to Canada. And at that time, for me, I would have paid any money to go and have like a healing or a relaxing massage to help reduce that stress and anxiety. So the value for me at that time was really high for that type of service. So thinking about your ideal client, what it is that the transformation you take them on. So I've got an example of one of my previous clients, actually. So she sets up, for real estate agents in particular, a professional online client portal. So she uses a particular computer software program that she's an expert in, and she sets up this portal to help make the process for the real estate agents' clients a lot more streamlined and a lot more professional, and saves the real estate agent a lot of time in doing it. So just asking the following question. So how much is your client or prospects current, like how much would their hourly rate be? So for example, Michelle, if you're looking at that qualified professional woman who doesn't want to cook food for dinner, like her hourly rate could be $500. So you cooking food for her, you might save her 2 hours in the kitchen, which is in essence $1,000 that you're saving her in time. So people will value often their time and their money when you kind of look at it like that. So when you think about that as well, and often, like for cleaners, I feel sometimes cleaners undervalue their services because, for me personally, I don't want to clean my house, and I feel like my time is much more better spent at developing my services, working with my clients, and I can make a lot more money, and so I can pay someone to clean my house. But often, so you kind of look at what you're saving the person that you're working with. How many hours would it take your client or prospect to actually set up the system themselves? So, if I was to try and get into the kitchen and cook myself and my family a gourmet meal, it's probably going to take me 2 hours. Plus I've got to go to the grocery store to do all the shopping, and I've got to get it home, and I've got to look up a recipe, and I've got to understand what I'm going to cook, and I need to know that I've got all the equipment to do it. So really thinking about how many hours it actually would take your client. And then how many hours will the new online platform save the client or prospect in their team on a daily or weekly basis? So if it is something like that you're implementing, Michelle, like if you're giving me some really good strategies, like I did one of your online courses to learn some really good strategies to how to shop effectively, how to do some meal prepping easily for the week, and how much time that's going to save me, and how much more beneficial the healthy meals are going to be for my family, really looking at how that could quantify it. And then you can multiply the number of hours that your service will save your client or prospect by their hourly rate. So for example, if you looked at a professional woman and you said, well, their hourly rate's $500 and I'm going to save them 3 hours or 2 hours a night, that's $1,000 I'm saving them. And then next, evaluate if your product or service will help your client or prospect to attract and retain more customers due to the improved service offering, or just like, because I've targeted this around this woman doing the real estate thing. So really think about how this kind of fits in with your service offering. So Ruth, for example, with your holistic services and the body work you're doing, really think about more about the quality of life and the reducing anxiety and stress. So then the person can actually be more function in their day-to-day life. So if they are a highly, professional woman that's highly stressed, and they come to you for a healing session, and that kind of helps to reduce their overwhelm and anxiety, so they actually can go to their work and be much more effective there. Really think about how you're impacting their lives. So just kind of relating it to your own business and what you're doing. And Jules, with your consulting, is that like business consulting for clients that you work with?
Yeah. So we do the sales, leasing, management, which is all fine. But I have a lot of customers that people come to me, like they're looking for properties and they just want to know what to look for, and then they want to go, they want my information on about a due diligence and all of those kind of things. So it's just a lot of information that I have and how I give that, and then they'll say, how much do you charge? And I'm like, I just pull a figure out my top of my head because it's kind of outside of what I would normally do. So and even now with assessing applications for sales of businesses, we do the application, and I used to charge, I don't know, it's probably about $400, and then a solicitor said to me one day, you was way too cheap, you should be about $1,000, that's what the people are charging. I'm like, oh, really? And so it's just that kind of thing is putting a price on myself for
also just talking about that, Jules, like you could probably do you get that information and actually like keep it so that you can use it? Like, does it have to be bespoke to each person, or is it quite similar, a lot of the information?
No, see, some of the information is similar, and I was thinking about providing something where somebody could buy it. So, but putting it on your website and having a landing page or whatever, that's where somebody could buy it. I'm thinking about doing various ones for that, but there's some of the things are a bit more bespoke. So it's kind of like when I'm looking at certain things like a management of a property, I'll know, I go and see the property, I have a look at it, and I don't give a percentage. I work out how many hours it's going to take me, how long I think it's going to take me. I've got my holding costs, I know what that is. I need to know what my percentage needs to be above that, so I can calculate it that way. But if somebody just like emails me and said, oh, I just need a report on this, or can you, do me this, this, and this, and even a market appraisal is, and I don't manage it.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, so I should really charge a reasonable fee, but then how much is a reasonable fee? So
Yeah.
that's why I kind of come unstuck, because I do a lot of things, and I know I'm undercharging for a lot of that side of things.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you need to look at how valuable your time is as well. So yeah, I think that's really important for all of us to really think about how valuable our time is. You know, like obviously you've got other aspects of your business that you might be taking away from. So thinking, well, if I could, what else am I saying no to by doing this? And, how much value do I need to put on that as well is really probably quite important there.
Yeah.
And then you could have like a DIY version where they do just buy the packet, the documents and kind of thing, or they get the more high level service where they actually get your professional advice as well. So it'd be quite different. Yeah. And you give them that option of like, well, you can buy this package on the website, which is going to cost you X amount, or if you want me to do it with you and work out bespoke for you, then it's going to be at this level, and just let them self-select where they'd like to be. And then maybe once they do the DIY, they might come back to you and be like, okay, actually I want to pay you now. Because they just realize that they need that professional level. Yeah. And then just keep going there. So what is the estimated value of the increase in customer numbers or repeat purchases? So if you're helping them to get more customers as well, or whatever it is, like your service, I know this is kind of quite bespoke to this kind of real estate agent one, but I was just trying to get across the thing, like to really start thinking about the actual value that you're offering and what that transformation or that client journey is. And what, and then having those different levels as well. So like what we're talking about with Jules and Michelle as well, like you could have, just do DIY, like you go on and watch just the videos. If you've done an online training course, you just watch the videos, or you could have the live group coaching so people can come on and ask questions. It might be a bit different level, or you have it actually come in person and learn to cook with you, Michelle. And Ruth, depending on your service offering, whether you can offer different levels there too. So what, Ruth, you said you're a holistic and body worker. So is it massage and healing sessions, or?
Energy healing sessions that I do.
Energy
incorporates massage, aromatherapy, presence, nurturing, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yumminess.
Yes. Okay. So has this been helpful, or do you have any questions around this tool at all?
Reminder, I've looked at this sort of stuff before early in the business when I started. So it's always good to reevaluate, and because I'm just going into another growth phase. And sometimes I think, because I make a lot of skincare and perfumes and oils and all sorts of stuff, and it's the variables with the cost of your products. And sometimes I think, I've made some money, and then I'm like, oh my God, I got to go spend $1,000 on bottles. And I'm like, I think something's wrong with my pricing, because my stuff sells, but I'm not making money.
Yes.
So something's really wrong there.
Yeah. So I would just, often what I say to people as well is just put your prices up to what you would like them to be, like kind of just bite the bullet and do it. Like put them and say, like, I really would like to sell this for this amount of money. And then if you get 3 knockbacks purely based on price, then you've probably gone a bit too high for the market as well. So, often people are really scared to put their prices up because they're worried about losing customers or clients, but you can go back. It's not kind of like, it's never set in concrete. So even if you do said like tomorrow, right, my bottle of perfume's been $30, but I'm going to put it up to $50 because that's really what I would like to sell it for. And then if you find that, okay, well, no one's buying it at $50, then maybe you go back to say $45 or, like whatever, it kind of like bring it back a little bit. I sell
some perfumes for $30, and I was just looking at putting them up to $34.95. Just that little bit extra would help.
Yeah, maybe even try $37.95, something like that, and just seeing like if you can start testing the market a bit, because if just see, because I remember once working with someone, and when they I'd gotten about 3 different quotes, and the person I ended up working with came in at was like the next person to their quote was $1,000 more. And I was like, and when I went back to the person and told them, I said, I would have paid at least another $1,000 for what you quoted me. And they were like, no, that really hurt. So you just sometimes never know. So just kind of test it a thing and really understand the cost of making that, but then also thinking about the value that you want to offer, and what, you know, like obviously it sounds like you're making your own, so it's very bespoke, it's probably organic.
All of that,
You know,
yummy, nice,
yeah,
good quality,
exactly. Organic,
lots of
you
love in it.
can, yep,
Yeah,
yep. It's not just manufactured in a big factory somewhere and you don't know what's in it. You know, you can actually tell people exactly what's in it. So it's, you know, to that, that's a lot, that adds a lot of value. And I think also like one good thing that I guess came out of COVID is people are now more willing to spend money with people within Australia or, you know, like local business.
they love to support local. I've noticed I've got more customers just from that.
Yeah, exactly. So I think you definitely could just, you know, maybe if you're comfortable putting it up to, so maybe like what I say is that like that gulp moment. So if I said to you, like, put your perfume up to $50 and you were like, no, I couldn't, like, that's too high, obviously, for you, because you wouldn't confidently be able to share or sell it for that much money. But if you said, oh, actually $37, yeah, actually I could try it at that and just see. So sometimes also look at that as well and just think, like you'll get a gut feeling what you can and can't, and other people will pick up on that as well. So if you get to that moment where it's kind of like, oh no, I can't, like I can't sell that for that price, other people will feel that, so they won't buy it. So also kind of have that thoughts around it when you're setting your prices. But you'll be surprised, people will pay more than what I think you often will expect. And then you just keep working through that and putting a dollar value. So when you kind of look at what you actually offer in all of your service offerings, so list everything out. So Michelle, when it comes to yours, you know, if you are creating an online course, list everything out. So maybe you've got some recipes they get. Maybe you've got, you know, they're getting videos on how to make starters. They're getting videos on how to make a beautiful platter. They're getting videos on how to make a, you know, dinner for 5 people, or whatever it is that you're offering. Actually list everything out that they get and start looking at what you could put a price on that, and then showing the value that they're getting. So sometimes, you know, see often quite a lot where people have got like, this is worth this much money, this is worth this much money, and like it might add up to like $15,000, and then you're selling it for say 10. So people are like, oh wow, that's really good value. But often it can, and if you can, and then you look at the transformation rather than just like the actual physical product or whatever that they're getting. And then another great thing, oh yeah, so if you're a service provider, you can often look at bronze, silver, gold, or, you know, at different levels. So they might just come in and get, like we talked about, Jules, with the DIYs, they just come and get the templates and the tools, or they come and get you actually kind of helping them do a bespoke to their business. So you look at those different service levels as well. And then another great thing to think about is there anything that you've created that you could add to it that's not going to cost you any more time or money, but will add value to the people that you're offering the service to? So like Ruth, if you're doing like a, you know, a special package, you know, is there anything you've got that, you know, doesn't cost you money to actually produce or to create? You've already got it that you can give to them. So maybe you've done a beautiful meditation that you've recorded. And so as a special, you could offer that recorded meditation so people can not only come and have that beautiful healing session with you, but you could have them listening to that meditation every night until they see you next time. And that can really help with that anxiety ongoing. So what, you know, other ideas, and just really like, just brainstorm, even like get your pen on the paper, just keep writing like all these different things you can do, and no idea is too silly, like just keep writing and then go through them after that and really look at what you can add to it as well. It's really important, like, to think that it's not, you don't want it to cost you more time or money. So yeah, so that's a really good tool. You can just tweak it to suit you and your business. And we've just been through all of that, so I'll keep moving. And also what's really good about the value proposition is when you start writing this all down, it's actually some content that you can then use in your sales page, on your landing page, on your website, when you're putting together your proposals and your quotes for people, when you're in your actual sales calls. You can actually go through this document, actually start picking out bits and pieces from it, and then using it in other areas of your business as well. So it's not just something you do and forget about. Like, you can actually really start to use that in other areas. Like, you might highlight that you're, you know, Jules, I know you're an accountant. That's right, isn't it? Your accounting background.
I've lost you. Yes, I've lost you. Oh, there you go.
Can you still see me?
So yes, I worked in a bank, worked for an accountant, did my accounting technician, which was the first 2 years of the CPA in the UK at the time. and then got a business and finance degree. So
yeah, well, there you go. So like,
yeah.
you can use that in all of your marketing materials, and, people do value all those, like Michelle, and Ruth, whatever you've got your qualifications and different things that you write down, definitely use that whenever you're marketing yourself and your business. And we've just been through all of that. Oh, and it's just saying use all of this information on your website, in your proposals, in your client conversations, and on your sales calls. So really, once you actually kind of go through the process and you really look at actually what you're offering the marketplace, you actually kind of can surprise yourself at really the amount of value that you are actually offering to people. And it might be little things that you didn't think about. So everyone, I'd like you to think about, when was the last time you actually raised your prices?
I raised some of them the last financial year when I rebranded. So when I went out for the managements, I thought, well, and they need to increase because of the service that I provide is more personal and far more involved than Joe Blog. So I decided not to charge, like people ring up and say, what's your percentage you charge for managing a property? I don't work like that. I go out and see it, and then I work out how long it's going to take to make sure I'm getting charged. Because I was finding that when you just do a percentage, which everybody was doing, you just end up with just things that are costing you money to have, and it's just not. So last year when I rebranded, I increased my prices that way for a lot of things.
Perfect.
But still a few that haven't moved for a while.
Yes. Michelle, have you reviewed your prices recently?
I think I constantly review my prices, and I think that's where I can get caught up and go, oh, well, the hard part is if I'm charging something on an hourly rate, I go, oh my gosh, that's just going to make it too expensive for someone. But I think one of the areas I need to become more comfortable in, and what you've covered here is certainly give me some things to think about, is to actually value what I do, and therefore value what I provide.
Yes.
And value that knowledge that I can provide for people.
Yeah, and use that when you kind of clarify that yourself, then you really use that in your sales and marketing. So, and you're not looking for, like, if someone, I would say, if you lose a customer based on price, that's a good reason to lose a customer. Like, you often don't want those tire kicker, because they're often going to be the clients that are painful to deal with. They don't value what you do. They're going to slow to pay. They're going to complain all the time. And it's going to end up being more of a headache to you than what it's worth. And it'll end up costing you a lot more money than you're actually earning from them. So often, I remember when Dad and I had the accounting firm, and if we did lose a client purely based on price, we were always like, well, that's actually, I'd much rather lose a customer based on price than lose someone because they didn't feel we had good service or weren't offering a good quality service. So that was, I used to always think about that. And Ruth, have you increased your prices lately?
My session prices over the last 10 years have gradually gone up.
Yep.
And then so I've got a price of value for a session with me. It's an hour and a half of 150 that I feel comfortable with. But with COVID and, I don't know, people losing their jobs and all this, like in my community, I reduced my prices. Because that just felt like the right thing to do. But part
what you could do with that as well is, like, you could not
I
necessarily
do discounts to pensioners, single mothers, like people that I know. So
I was going to say, rather than reducing your prices across the board, like doing it for who you would like to do it for. I do a bit of an honour
system, like a sliding scale. So I'd say to people, if you've got full-time employment, it's 150, but if you're not working, it's 125. And I just let them do an honour system, if you like.
So, and your products?
My products, some of them, my customers at my market hall, Ruth, you've been charging the same for 10 years. And I'm like, yeah, I know.
Well, if you think about, like, to you to drive... for you to drive to the markets is costing you just a lot more money, let alone the materials that are going into the products.
I know. And I've put about 30 grand into the business last year, like rebranding and doing lots of stuff, raising having the quality of the product look like the quality that's inside the product.
Yeah. Well, look,
So,
I would
yeah.
recommend definitely raising your prices on your products and if you're increasing the branding and the look of them, because
A new
people will,
website.
yeah, because people will often think, well, if that's, you know, like it doesn't match, the pricing sounds to me like the pricing doesn't match the actual strategy you've got. So I think,
Yeah.
you know, people would often like think it's, well, it must be very good quality. If it's only $30 a bottle, it can't be very good. Like that's often
And a
what
lot of
people will
people-
think.
Yeah, but people that buy it and use it go, wow, thank you for offering something that's so good at a, you know, it's value. They see a lot of value in
Yeah.
what they get from me. So is it okay to, my strategy is I've been selling at the organic market for 10 years.
Yep.
So I was going to keep my prices pretty much the same at the market. And on my new website, I'm putting everything up. Can you do that?
You can, but the only problem then is if someone goes to the market and buys it and they've just like, say, I don't know where you're located, but say, for example, you're based on the Gold Coast and you had a market at the organic market on the Gold Coast and then someone came and bought it from you there and then they went back to Melbourne and they went onto your website to buy it, that it doesn't match either.
Yeah, that's true.
So
Yeah.
I think you should look at increasing. I would definitely increase the markets and then maybe, I don't know, like you might just have, like, if you go onto the website, maybe have a small discount. If they've bought it from you at the markets, they might get a small discount if they buy directly from the website instead, like next time, like they might have a code or something. But I think from what it sounds like, you've invested in kind of rebranding and the products that you use and the ingredients and everything. It does sound like it should be kind of more of a luxury item. Like you look at organic food, it's not cheap.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I know someone that
Yeah.
someone I know has got a loaf of bread that's worth like $60 because it's organic.
I know Heidi. Yeah.
Yeah.
Heidi recommended you to me. So
there you go.
Heidi's helping me at the moment because she knows
Yeah.
that what I do is pretty luxury. I think that's the
Yes.
trouble when it's a market stall. That's how I've developed and grown. And
Yeah.
I need to expand my reach out away from the market to get the value, the money for what I do.
Yeah. So whether you just say to people that are at the market, like if someone comes from Melbourne or something like that, and you kind of, because I'm sure you chat to people at the markets, so you probably would know where people are buying and that from. So maybe you could say, look, you know, because I'm at the market, it's this price, but if you do go to my website, it's a bit higher, but I'll offer, you know, if you do want to rebuy it from my website, here's just a voucher to buy it for this price. So it's not going to be the same. But yeah, like I feel like it's a hard one. I think it's definitely a hard one. And especially if you've got regular people coming to the markets. So yeah, we can have a chat about it later though. But I think, we need to kind of look at a bit of a strategy there. Yeah. And how does, if I said to you tomorrow, you've got to all increase your prices by at least 10%, how do you feel?
Yep, that's right.
Good.
Well, I work out what my price is.
Ruth, how do you feel?
Like, increase it by 10%.
Percent's doable. Yeah.
Yeah, 10% doable. Michelle, you feel comfortable to increase your prices?
Yeah, definitely. I think if it's that 10%, I think that's like something I feel comfortable with. Yeah.
Okay, so just do, because like it's no point me saying to you, you should double your prices, because if it doesn't feel comfortable to you, then it's going to be really hard for you to sell it. But really looking at what's comfortable for you, making sure, like understanding your numbers and making sure you're going to make a good profit that you can pay yourself what you're worth. I guess one of the reasons why I do what I do now as well is that I used to have a lot of clients coming to me, and it would be, sorry, it's my husband. Sorry, everyone. Is they would be, you know, seeing me say March the following year of the end of the financial year. So 9 months after the fact the financial year had ended, and we'd be looking through their profit and loss, and they'd either made a profit and they'd say, well, where's all the money gone? And now I've got to pay your bill and I've got to pay the tax office. So where's my money? Or they'd make a loss and they'd have no idea why they'd made a loss. And I say to them, well, you've probably been doing exactly the same thing for the last 9 months. You're probably still in a loss position. And I just knew the value and the information that the financials and understanding the numbers can give someone and a business owner, and the confidence it can then give to you. So for example, Ruth, if you really understood the everything that went into making one of your products and what it kind of price was to cost you, then if you were selling it then, like if it cost you $30 to make and then you're only selling it for $30, you realize, oh, actually, there's no way, like, I'm going to go out of business doing that. So understanding that as well can really help give you the confidence in your pricing, and know when you need to increase your prices. And that's so interesting. You've come through Heidi's. That's funny. When to review prices. So business is booming and you can't keep up is definitely when you know you need to increase prices. So if you're working 12-hour days and you're struggling to keep up with things and you're stressed to the max, your prices are definitely too low and it's time to increase them. And even if you lost like 1 to 2 clients, you'd actually be probably making more money and you'd have more time. Alternatively, sales are slow. So when you like sales are slow, it might not just be the price though. So you really need to look at all the different aspects of the business and what's impacting the slowing down of sales. So not just thinking it's based purely on prices. If you're introducing a new product or service, so you might say like you've had one product for a little while and you're going to introduce something else, like really looking at, well, do you want that product that you've got currently to be increasing in price, or do you want the new product that's going to be more luxurious or more high value? So you want that to be, so really looking at the different products and what you're wanting to do there. Costs are changing all the time at the moment. Food prices are going up, fuel costs are going up, electricity costs are going up, rent costs are going up, insurances. So all the costs in your business are going up. So it's really important to understand what the costs are and seeing the increase and making sure that your prices are matched, because otherwise you're just eating into your profit and the ability for you to continue your business. And at the end of the day, I always say, if you've got customers that are loyal, that love you and love what you do, they don't want you to go out of business. They actually want you to be really profitable because they want to keep using you ongoing into the future. But if you're not profitable and you actually have to shut the business, imagine all those customers that you can no longer serve and you can no longer be of value to them. So really thinking that as well, like low prices aren't necessarily the best for your customers either. And then if you are kind of watching your competitors, just seeing if they change their prices. So how to increase your prices? So really plan your increased price strategy, making sure the time is right. So sometimes people just say, well, the end of financial year, I'm going to increase my prices, but maybe that's not the right time for you. So really planning it out, looking if you can add more value, but making sure it doesn't cost you more money, like looking at things that you might have that you could easily add there. Like Ruth, we talked about with, like a meditation or something you've recorded that people can take away. And could you potentially bundle products or services and get like a bigger dollar spend and maybe reduce the price? Like if you bundle something together, maybe you could, combined, it might be a little bit less, but you're actually making more in actual sales. You might be starting to look at targeting a new customer base. So Ruth, you're talking about that as well. Like you've got the markets, but you're actually looking at targeting more of a luxurious online customer base. So really looking at that kind of thing. Be prepared for customer feedback. So if you do have a team, and like I know Netflix rolled out increased prices, so they just didn't do it overnight. They kind of emailed clients about it, told them what was happening, when it was happening, why it was happening, and they would have had all of their customer service team aware of what was happening. So if customers started ringing up or emailing, they would know exactly how they had to respond. So making sure that if you do have a team, that your team's prepared as well, and you really are prepared for some customer feedback. Because if you had a loyal customer for 10 years buying a perfume for $30 and all of a sudden you hike it up to $60, they might all of a sudden have a lot of feedback around that. And then maybe offering different price points, which we've talked about with service offering, and make sure you communicate effectively with clients. Low versus high prices. So sometimes low prices are perceived as low value or quality. As I mentioned, customers aren't necessarily loyal. They'll just go to the next lowest price that they can find. You need really high volumes to make any profit. It can be actually a really sure way of going out of business. And you must consistently be looking at how you can reduce costs and creating efficiencies, which can become really exhausting. If you're constantly having to look at how you can cut costs and how you can save money, it can really actually impact the quality of your business as well. High. So you need to be perceived as value for money. You want to be high quality. You want people to be loyal to your brand. So doing that rebrand, Ruth, and really positioning yourself, people become very loyal to it. So I know, Julie, with what you've created, and Michelle, people become really loyal to what you actually offer because they know they're getting the best service. Your marketing and packaging and positioning is key. And potentially you might be lower volume, but you'll have higher profit margin. And my final thoughts, Don't attach your prices to your perceived personal value. And as a service provider, that can often be really challenging to do, but really thinking about the fact that, it's your genius zone, and it's not necessarily the person that you're working with genius zone. So really looking at the value that you're adding to them, not your personal value. Do the research, create your strategy, and set your prices effectively. Constantly review your prices and be unattached to the outcome. And you're in business to make a profit at the end of the day. So what I mean by that, by constantly reviewing your prices and being unattached to the outcome, is, I talked about like increasing your prices to kind of like your stretch, and then seeing if you do get people that are going like, oh, that's too expensive, I'm not going to buy it, then maybe being open to then evaluating your prices and potentially reducing them down if you want to. So really understanding, like, just, this is my price, don't be attached to it, don't attach the value to yourself. You're offering an amazing service, you're in business to make a profit, and at the end of the day, your customers who love you really want you to stay in business, so they want you to make a profit too. So that is the end of the actual presentation. Does anyone have any questions or anything that they'd like to ask following that?
No.
No questions?
I know at this stage, that was great. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it was. It's like I say, it's just putting everything down and putting a value on it instead of like an hourly rate, which is what I've tried to work out, an hourly rate for their services. And like, well, surely I'm worth more than $50 an hour.
Yes,
and
yeah,
$200
$200 an hour, Julie.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is knowing, and it's not putting an hourly rate. It's like the value thing for those services. There's only that section that I've been struggling with, and that's the section I kind of want to grow. And I thought, I was thinking, well, there's no point growing it because it doesn't make me any money. But then it won't make me any money if I'm not charging the right price. And I didn't know what the right price. Yeah, so I was trying to work it out on an hourly rate, which I don't think I can do.
Just do the gulp test often, like when you do that invoice and you send out that proposal or the quote, like if you then it's the right price, I think.
Yeah.
And just if they say no, like if you get someone, you do that, like you send out a quote or something and you get a no, ask them why they said no. Because if you send out a quote and they come back and say, no, the price is far too high, and then you do another quote and you get the same feedback, and you do another quote and you get the same feedback, then okay, maybe I've gone too high, I need to bring it back a bit. But yeah, like you'll be really surprised actually. Like sometimes I think when we do pricing, and look, I'm the same. I'm offering services. I struggle sometimes putting a value on my services, but I know how important it is, because at the end of the day, you want to make a profit. And you're wanting to make sure that you're not working 12-hour days to try and make a living and scrape by. And especially when you're getting started in it, can be a bit challenging. But Ruth, it sounds like you've got many, many years experience. Michelle, you do too. And so do you, Jules. So, I think you should definitely look at those prices and the value you're offering, and think of that customer on Island B. What is their pain points? What are they doing on that island? They're definitely not partying. And if you take them on your little boat of your product or service and get to Island B, what is it on Island B that they're going to be enjoying that they didn't get to enjoy on Island A, and they didn't get to enjoy on Island B, and really thinking about that.
That was good. Thank you, Phoebe. Very good.
You're welcome. I don't have an offer or anything at the end of this. So look, I do this with my clients. So if it's of interest to you and you would like to reach out to me, feel free to send me an email or give me a call. I'm on social media. But yeah, I didn't kind of specifically do this to kind of have a specific offer to work with me at all, which probably is, if I had a sales coach, Jules would be like, what are they telling me off? I don't have an offer. But look, this is my absolute passion. If you do struggle with your prices and you're not sure about the profitability in your business and what you would like to create in your business, the numbers never lie, and I love numbers and helping people to really gain a really good understanding of the numbers in their business, so they can use that information to confidently go out into the marketplace with their pricing, with the business that they want to achieve, with the growth and the profitability. So feel free to reach out to me anytime. There is I have recorded it, so I'll make sure you get the recording, so you can go through it, and just let me know if you've got any questions following on from today.